In the news tonight, Hani al-Mulki holds talks in Turkey with the President and Prime Minister on ways to bolster bilateral cooperation as well as common threats facing the two countries, namely Daesh.
Iraqi forces recapture a main government building in Mosul Central Bank, a branch and museum where 3 years ago Daesh filmed themselves destroying priceless statues. And 110 people die in southern Somalia in the last 2 days from famine and diseases resulting from drought, and the UN urges the international community to take action. Good evening and welcome to a new edition of the news. Good evening.
His Majesty the King, the Supreme Commander of the Jordan Armed Forces Arab Army, visited the Army General Headquarters, where he was welcomed by Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Lieutenant General Mahmoud Frihat, His Royal Highness Prince Faisal bin Al Hussein, and a number of military officials. King Abdullah discussed with the Army Chief a number of military issues and expressed his pride in the high morale and outstanding level of readiness by the Army's various units. 5 people suspected to be behind a 2016 deadly terrorist attack on an Army outpost on the northeastern border will be tried before the State Security Court. Court prosecutor Ziad Al-Adwan said the 5 suspects from an Arab nationality are believed to have orchestrated the terrorist bombing, which claimed the lives of 7 border guards and injured several others near the Syrian refugee camp of Al-Rukban on the Jordanian-Syrian border. These suspects were arrested by the Army security forces on the borders, and it was found they were affiliated with Daesh and had a hand in the bombing. Al-Adwan said the suspects are charged with carrying out terrorist acts using explosives that led to the death of individuals. The State Security Court will look into the cases in the next few days. Prime Minister Hani al-Mulki, on an official visit to Turkey, was welcomed by President Tayyip Erdogan in Ankara for talks on bilateral ties and the situation in the region. Mulki delivered His Majesty's greetings and good wishes to Erdogan and the Turkish people and reiterated Jordan's intent to take relations further in all fields. Mulki presented the kingdom's stand on regional issues, including the need for a political solution to end the Syria crisis. He voiced His Majesty's call for the resumption of Palestinian-Israeli negotiations leading to a 2-state solution, also highlighting the role of the Hashemite custodianship over holy sites in Jerusalem. He said the Hashemite role has helped protect Al-Aqsa Mosque and other shrines in the Holy City, noting this role will and should continue on both the legal and diplomatic fronts. On bilateral ties, Mulki said Jordan welcomes Turkish investments in the kingdom and is ready to provide special zones for Turkish industries. Erdogan said his country hopes to increase cooperation with Jordan in the military industry sector, promote maritime transportation, and increase a trade exchange. The Prime Minister and Erdogan were in agreement over intensifying the war on terror. Mulki is accompanied by a senior delegation of ministers, public sector officials, as well as private sector representatives. Separately, al-Mulki met with his Turkish counterpart bin Ali Yildirim following a welcoming ceremony in Ankara. In addition to common challenges that Jordan and Turkey currently face, the talks dealt with ways to enhance bilateral cooperation, focusing on future joint ventures, Turkish investments in Jordan, as well as the exchange of expertise in the development sector. Regional issues on the agenda included the Syria crisis, namely international obligations towards countries hosting Syrian refugees, the war against terrorist groups, the situation in Iraq, and the urgent need for the Palestinians and Israelis to return to negotiations. Yildirim expressed Ankara's appreciation for the way Jordan supported Turkey following the deadly July 2016 coup attempt, which martyred 249 people and injured thousands. He said Turkey and Jordan share a common threat and common enemy that threatens to disrupt peace in the region and prevent a peaceful, permanent political solution in Syria. At a joint news conference, Yildirim said coordination is needed to clear Syria of all terrorist groups.
There is a need for strong coordination to cleanse Syria of all terrorist organizations. The region must be cleansed of Daesh, YPG, PYD, al-Nusra, and similar terrorist organizations.
We spoke about political and economic issues, and once again I offered our sympathies over the victims of the terrorist attacks that took place in Turkey. May God bless the souls of the victims, and I wish the injured a speedy recovery. I have affirmed to His Excellency the Prime Minister our total and absolute rejections of all forms of terrorist acts. We have a huge responsibility to defeat terrorist groups, and God willing, we shall defeat them sooner than later. I have reiterated Jordan's solidarity with Turkey against any attempt to undermine its security. We have discussed ways of working together to confront the various common challenges our countries are facing. I would like also to note here that our two countries share intelligence on security issues and on the fight against Daesh and other terrorist groups. Relations between our two countries are solid and go back a long way. This year we celebrate 70 years of Jordanian-Turkish relations.
Meanwhile, Turkey's military chief of staff hosted a meeting with the heads of the U.S. and Russian armed forces in the southern Turkish province of Antalya. The three top generals discussed Syria and Iraq primarily and regional security. The talks come amid rising tensions in northern Syria, where Turkish troops and allied Syrian fighters, U.S.-backed Kurdish-led forces, and Russian allied Syrian troops are fighting their way toward Daesh's de facto capital, Al-Raqqa. Yesterday, the Pentagon confirmed that a small number of U.S. troops was sent to the northern Syrian town of Manbij to deter conflict between the U.S.-backed Kurdish forces and Turkey-backed rebels. The talks will continue tomorrow.
On the ground in Syria, meanwhile, the Syrian army took control of Aleppo's main water pumping station at Al-Khafsa near the Euphrates after Daesh terrorists withdrew from the area. The Syrian army, backed by Russian air power, captured Al-Khafsa in a recent campaign against Daesh in the area northeast of Aleppo, 2 months after the city's main water supply was cut off.
And in another advance elsewhere in the country, Syrian forces expanded their control over farmlands near the city of Palmyra. Helicopters, tanks, soldiers and mortars were deployed in rural areas in the outskirts of the historic city. The advance comes after troops announced on Thursday they have recaptured Palmyra from Daesh terrorists. Daesh stormed Palmyra in May 2015, and the army retook it a year later but lost it again at the end of the year. The Syrian army is also fighting Daesh east of Aleppo city, where it is pushing to reach the Euphrates River, and the city of Deir ez-Zor, where it controls an enclave besieged by the terrorists. Minister of Foreign and Expatriate Affairs Ayman al-Safadi, attending a Ministerial Arab League meeting in Cairo, voiced hope the upcoming Arab summit in Jordan would spearhead an effective institutional Arab action in the service of regional issues. In his remarks at the 147th Arab League ministerial session, Safadi said the Arab summit meeting later this month should bring forth a number of specific programs and initiatives to enhance the Arab world's capability to confront challenges and achieve results. Also at the meeting, Iraqi Foreign Minister Ibrahim al-Jafari called on the Arab League to end Syria's suspension from the organization. Jafari said Syria should remain in the League, in his own words, so that they would listen to us and we listen to them directly around this table. However, Arab League Secretary General Ahmed Abul Ghaid said that the situation was far from ready and that the issue would be given some time. Syria's seat in the regional bloc was suspended in 2011. Over to Iraq, and the Iraqi army has recaptured the main government building in Mosul and other key structures in an overnight raid. Among the buildings recaptured is the Mosul Museum, which was stormed 3 years ago by Daesh terrorists, where they smashed and looted artifacts and statues. An elite rapid response team had stormed the Ninawa Governorate building and government complex overnight, said spokesman Lieutenant Colonel Abdel Amir al-Muhammadawi. Here's more.
The morning after an overnight raid to retake the heart of western Mosul, US-backed Iraqi forces storming the main government buildings in the battle to drive out Islamic State militants still entrenched in the city. Also taken the city's main museum and central bank branch, looted by IS when they took Mosul in 2014. And Islamic State's Justice Court, known for delivering harsh sentences such as stonings, throwing people from buildings and chopping off hands. Video released by a news agency affiliated with Islamic State shows militants firing back to defend their positions. The white van is said to be driven by a suicide bomber heading for Iraqi forces, a popular tactic of the group. Although the government buildings are reported to be largely destroyed, they are a strategic and symbolic win towards restoring authority over the divided city. Recapturing them will help Iraqi forces attack the militants in the nearby old city centre. The US military says Islamic State is vastly outnumbered and disorganised, with some foreign fighters trying to leave. But those still fighting are putting up fierce resistance to hold on to their last major stronghold in Iraq.
Iraq's Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi paid a visit to western Mosul, where battles are still going on to dislodge Daesh terrorists. He met with senior officers, the military commanders there, and heard the latest developments of the battle. The battle for Mosul, which started on October the 17th, will now enter a more complicated phase in the densely populated old city, where the Iraqi military believes several thousand terrorists are among the remaining civilian population. Al-Abadi promised a fair trial for Daesh terrorists if they surrender.
Daesh terrorists should either flee or be killed. They have two options, either to surrender, and we promise them that they will have fair trials, and the second option is that they will be killed. They have no other option.
Visibly shocked by the suffering of malnourished Somalis and cholera victims during an emergency visit, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres urged international support to alleviate Somalia's severe hunger crisis. He also visited a camp in Baidawa with hundreds of families displaced by the drought and the country's battle against Al-Shabaab terrorist group. The prolonged drought has caused widespread hunger, and the shortage of clean water has resulted in cholera. Over the weekend, Somalia announced that 110 people have died in a 48-hour period in a single region. The UN estimates that 5 million people in Somalia need aid, warning of a famine. Guterres said Somalia's famine crisis requires a massive response.
It's a process in acceleration. All these reasons justify a massive response. We have things prepared on the ground, but we need financial support from the international community. And that is why we are appealing for $825 million for the support to 5.5 million people in 6 months. And without that support, we will have a tragedy that is absolutely unacceptable and that the Somali people does not deserve.
A shocked international community has condemned North Korea after it launched 4 ballistic missiles yesterday, 3 of which fell into Japanese waters. But North Korea says it was firm in its determination to further bolster up its defense capabilities. Following the North's test, the United States started to deploy the first elements of its Advanced Terminal High Altitude Area Defense THAAD anti-missile system to South Korea. This prompted North Korea to warn that military exercises by the US and South Korea were the ones driving the region towards nuclear disaster. Here's a story.
The U.S. answering North Korea with more than just talk on Tuesday, Washington announcing it's rolling out the first pieces of the controversial THAAD anti-missile system after Pyongyang fired 4 ballistic rockets into the sea near Japan. THAAD is designed to defend South Korea against a possible attack from the north. Its deployment is sure to anger China, which claims the system could be used to target Chinese territory. Beijing is also worried the heavy weapons will upset a delicate balance in Asia. The issue has sparked a diplomatic standoff between China and South Korea. Beijing authorities closing nearly 24 retail stores owned by the South Korean conglomerate Lotte Group after it swapped land with the military to base the THAAD systems on a golf course. North Korean state media say Monday's test was conducted by an army unit commissioned with attacking U.S. military bases in Japan and was personally overseen by Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un. The U.S. and Japan have called for a UN Security Council meeting over the launches. Diplomats say that meeting could happen on Wednesday.
U.S. President Donald Trump took some time off Twitter today and made an unplanned appearance at the White House Visitor Center. With today marking the official start of the White House tours, the president surprised a group of school children who were waiting to visit the resident. Trump greeted about 40 to 50 tour-goers who screamed with excitement. Coincidentally, a portrait of a former First Lady and Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton loomed right above Trump as he stopped to wave to the crowd.
Work hard, everybody, work hard.
Bentley Motors shared its vision of a future where electric luxury motoring can become reality and showcased its unique breadth of capabilities from exquisite off-road luxury to extreme on-road performance. The EXP 12-speed 6E concept showcases Bentley's approach to a zero-emission electric future, as well as the seamless integration of state-of-the-art onboard technology in a luxurious, authentic way. Bentley's vision is for customers to benefit from high-speed inductive charging to minimize inconvenience on the move and provide a range sufficient for grand touring requirements. An electric Bentley would, for example, enable the driver to drive between London and Paris on a single charge. And when rapid inductive charging is not available, the car can be connected to a mains AC power supply via the auxiliary charging point concealed behind the rear number plate.
You can always count on an out-of-this-world runway set at Chanel, as Karl Lagerfeld quite literally took things out of this world at Paris Fashion Week. For its fall 2017 show, Chanel created its own space station inside Paris's iconic Grand Palais, and it was nothing short of epic. Lagerfeld opted for a mix of space odyssey and 1960s-inspired style. Models strutted down the catwalk in Chanel's signature tweed jackets and sequined suits, cropped jackets and loose coats, oversized aviators, thick headbands, and knee-high metallic boots. The finale was a dramatic blast as a countdown ensued amid clouds of smoke before the designer emerged to launch the rocket. The models paraded around the No. 5 vessel as it took off, bringing a close to what many speculate could have been one of Lagerfeld's last shows.
"200 runners from across the globe braved Siberian sub-zero temperatures to take part in BAIKAL Ice Marathon. Participants from 32 countries raced across frozen waters of world's deepest lake in Russia's Irkutsk region to compete at marathon and half-marathon distances. The annual BAIKAL Ice Marathon is held for the 13th time, and the harsh Siberian weather makes the race unpredictable. It took the fastest of the runners 2 hours, 53 minutes, and 26 seconds to cross the finish line. Bartosz Mazurski from Poland broke the previous BAIKAL Ice Marathon record of 2 hours, 55 minutes, and 51 seconds, set by Russia's Sergei Klashnikov 5 years earlier. Barcelona coach Luis Enrique said his team are capable of scoring 6 goals against Paris Saint-Germain tomorrow, as the La Liga leaders target a historic European turnaround. Barca were beaten 4-0 in Paris in the first Liga A result, which is no side has ever recovered from in the Champions League. However, with an improvement in result in recent weeks, the Catalan club believe they are capable of becoming the first side to achieve the feat. And finally, relatively cold conditions prevail across the kingdom for the rest of tonight, with a low of 7 degrees Celsius in Amman. Fair conditions continue in the hilly areas tomorrow, while it remains warmer in the Jordan Valley and the Dead Sea, with partly cloudy skies and light variable winds. The Gulf of Aqaba should enjoy a warm day tomorrow, with a high of 24 degrees Celsius, while winds will be northerly moderate and the seas calm. Next are the lows and highs for tonight and tomorrow.
And to close, here's a reminder of the day's top stories. Hani al-Mulki holds talks in Turkey with the President and Prime Minister on ways to bolster bilateral cooperation as well as common threats facing the two countries, namely Daesh.
Iraqi forces recapture a main government building in Mosul Central Bank branch and museum, where 3 years ago Daesh filmed themselves destroying priceless statues.
And 110 people die in southern Somalia in the last 2 days from famine and diseases resulting from drought, and the UN urges the international community to take action. And with this, we come to the end of this edition of the news. I'm Alia Tuqan.
I'm Lana Hassan. Thank you for watching and good night.
Good night.